Almost ready. Mic check. Mic check. Can you hear me? We live. We live right now. Okay, so what's the topic today? You know, this is a coffee podcast. You know that this is a coffee thingy, whatever it may be. But what we're doing right now is that we're about to drink this coffee. This coffee is an Ethiopian coffee. Let's just take a sip. Probably the best one besides espresso that this coffee has been. If you're watching this, as you saw, I went ahead and did a cloth filter, Hario V60 cloth filter with a Bonavita. You can use a Clever dripper with the valve all the way open. So you can do the same thing on a Clever dripper. Just put it on the cup immediately. It's like a drip after that. 20 grams of coffee, 21 grams of coffee, 255 grams of water. So it's about a 12-to-1 ratio. And it worked out pretty well. I'm really surprised. And the reason why we're talking about this in particular and with our trusty grinder is that we're talking about coffee challenges. I don't know about you, but as you drink coffee day to day, week to week, for whatever reason, it becomes stagnant. It becomes something to where you do the same ratios, same recipes. You don't really deviate from it. I'm talking about me too. So you're in this routine of constantly doing the exact same thing all the time. And it's with the same different coffees, you know. But with this coffee particular, I wanted to challenge it myself. I wanted to see what other possibilities are out there. Am I still making coffees? Yes. I'm not like putting this coffee on my face and saying that it is spectacular, which it probably is, but I'm not actually eating or drinking it or whatever, you know. I guess what I'm getting at right now is that we go through our slumps. We go through like the mundane. We go through just the routine of doing things all the time the same way. And at times, it's good to spice it up. It's good to try to see what other things that you can probably get out the coffee. Push it yourself into a place to where you're trying new things and the coffee may speak to you or may not. I don't think that's really the goal. If you get something that's magical, you know, that's also great too. And I know when I started this whole challenge, it's been about a week. Today's going to be the end of the day, end of the little challenge. I'm going to cap it off with the mocha pot. And it's been lovely. And I know one of the things I did say in that video was, in one of my many videos that I've done of this, is that it'll be really awesome to use a simple recipe and that coffee tastes magical immediately. It's been a while since that's actually happened. And I think that's because sometimes the recipe that I've been doing forever isn't the recipe that needs to be used or universal to most of the coffees that I use. One thing that I've noticed too, we'll talk about the grinder too, is that again, we get so stuck in our ways of just doing the exact same thing. If it works, no problem. But if we try to tweak something, try to change things up a little bit, I think we're going to be in a better place to where we are able to see what the possibilities are, not just with that coffee, but with ourselves. And this whole experiment taught me a lot of things. Yes. Am I still using the basic type of coffee gear in order to make a coffee? Yes, I am. But for instance, it's been a while since I've made a French press. And the way I usually make French presses is that it's mainly for, I won't say show, but for beginners. Meaning that in order to, I think, get into enjoying coffee, you have to start making coffee yourselves. And one of the ways to really get that going is buying or using a French press. And it's a very simple machine. And usually what people do with the French press is that they put the coarse ground coffee in, barely not even really mix it through. And then they wait there 4 minutes, they plunge down and they drink it. I normally don't do that. I don't do that shit at all. Normally, I really don't. What I do is put the coffee in, lot finer, closer to a Hario V60 grind, and I stir the shit out of it for like 20 seconds. And then I usually will like let the plunger go like halfway because I think the grounds are a little bit better saturated, evenly distributed because the grounds don't go at the bottom, which is weird, especially in the beginning. But those are some of the things that you start to notice and pick up on as you start to make coffee for yourself. Because all these recipes are great. Don't get me wrong, I give out recipes all the time, and people give out recipes all the time. You have your own recipes, the way you go about making your cup of coffee, but you're there by yourself. You're there either making your coffee for yourself, for other people. You're making your coffee for just the way you feel, your mood. And I've been playing around with different like emotional type of brewing type of ways to make coffees. But I guess what I'm really getting at is that we get stuck in our ways. That's everything and anything. When we drive to work, we take the same route. When we were coming back home, we probably listen to a particular music or a podcast or whatever. Yeah, that podcast may be different. But the thing about it is that we kind of keep doing the exact same thing over and over again. And these little challenges that I believe that we should give ourselves all the time, at least once a month, pushes us out of the realm of what we normally do. It gives us a different perspective. For instance, I was actually going to use this Ethiopian coffee with different grinders and play around with this and that. But I decided like halfway into the challenge, it was like, no, let's just use the kin grinder and we're not going to change the grind size. That was the challenge that I gave to myself. And whichever coffee preparation method that I use, those are the things that we're going to go with. And then we're going to adjust from there. We're going to just enjoy and taste the coffee, or not enjoy and taste the coffee for what it is. And I learned so much about myself. Different techniques, sure, that's awesome. That's great. But the biggest thing is that I push myself and I try different things. And one of the things that I realized that you can do, which is kind of interesting, nobody really talks about, is that you can keep the exact same grind size and you keep the same recipe. But the way that you work out the sour to the bitterness is through the ratio. So let's say you did a 1-to-10 ratio, for instance. It was too bitter. Wait, and it was too bitter. And then you did a 1-to-15 ratio for that particular coffee with that particular recipe technique. And it was flat. It didn't taste like anything. It tastes like tea. And then if you just change the ratio to like somewhere in between or closer to the ratio that seemed a little bit more lively to you. So you change it to like a 1-to-12 ratio and the coffee just comes alive. Those are some of the things that I learned with just challenging myself, giving myself the constraints of not changing the grind size on the kin grinder. I wouldn't have never done that if I wouldn't have given myself these little challenges, little things that I normally wouldn't do. So what do you go through? What are some of the routines that you go through that you realize that you're like, wait, I do need to change a couple of things. I do need to push myself, because after a while, no matter which type of coffee it is, you may not realize that you're probably drinking that coffee the incorrect way. Meaning that for your taste buds, let's say you have your recipe, you try it out, and let's say you love it. But since you didn't try another recipe and technique because you haven't really been practicing, because you're stuck in your ways or you do the exact same thing, you just realize that you've come to a place of magicalness of the coffee. Same thing with profiles. When I roast coffees, I kind of stick to the same type of roasting protocol. And at times I know that this coffee will work the way that I present it, but sometimes you got to push yourself, try different things, and then you never know really where it may come. I like to say it's more so like an R&D type of situation, to where you're like, wow, this is really cool. This is really magical. This is the things that I'm really getting to a place to where I can understand coffee even more so. And I think the biggest takeaway of it is that, yes, you're trying different things with the coffee, but you are the constant player in this game. You are pushing yourself. You are like analyzing it to the point to where you're understanding that you play a big part, big role in this. And it goes beyond just you just doing the exact same thing over and over and over and over again. Because we get bored. It's coffee, right? I mean, think about it. We have all the gear that we want. We can buy more gear if we want to. We can buy instruments in order to help us analyze the coffee even more so, which I'll talk about that soon. We have our grinders, which I wholeheartedly believe that this grinder is, I don't like to say this word a lot, but it really is a game changer. Am I late to the game? Sure, probably, but I think that this is what you need, okay? We have everything that we want in order to make good tasting coffee. But I'm sure sometimes you want that exact same coffee, if it's possible, to taste great. And if we try so many different techniques and we were staying with, not try so many different techniques, we do the exact same routine that we've been doing when it comes to actually drinking and enjoying and brewing coffee. If we don't give ourselves these challenges, these break-in routines, then we are going to be in a place to where coffee is just going to be coffee. And not just coffee, that's anything in general. We go through this in our lives, right? We get bored all the times. We want to spice it up. That's why vacations are very important, right? Because it's a break in routine. We go to the airport. We sit on the cramped seat. If you got money, you're balling, you're not. But you are in a place, in a situation to where it's different, it's new, it's a different air that you're taking in. It's people, it's different people that you're seeing, it's different environments, and you're trying to do things a little different than what you do on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, this is essentially like taking a vacation from coffee with doing things differently. And then at the end of the day, it's just an R&D session. You're just seeing if it works, if it doesn't work. And there's no expectations with this. And I think that's where we need to come with all this. And it's been a lot of fun with me. I've been drinking the exact same coffee for a whole week and actually have a newfound love for the Ethiopian coffee. Maybe because of this grinder. And again, I have the EK43. I can play around with that, but I want to come down to your level, meaning that, okay, what I mean by that, it's not a dig or anything like that. How many people do you know who has close to a $3,000 commercial grinder in their house? A coffee, a aficionado. Waiting. How many? I know a couple. A lot of them were professionals, but I'm talking about the everyday coffee drinker. It could get to the point to where, yeah, we're buying $300-$400 hand grinders and stuff like that. But this will get you, I believe, 80-90% there compared to the EK43 or even the $300-$400 German grinder. This will get you in the game. And one thing that I did learn, let's go ahead and end this podcast or this session or this talk with each other, is that what are some of the things I did actually learn this week? I learned, one, that Ethiopian coffees or African coffees are still delicious. They still have a way of talking to me in a way that they did in the beginning. And I don't know if me starting off so early with those type of coffees, it was so unique and different. I probably have like rose colored goggles to the point to where anything was just going to be tasty to me. You understand what I'm saying? Like if you had juice for the first time and you're like, damn, that juice is fantastic. And then you have it later on and you start to develop little nuances about it as your palate gets better and you understand the coffee even more so, or that situation, you tend to be in a place where it's not the same growth, if that makes any sense. So it does have a place. And I think it does have a place because of the right grinder. This grinder right here, $70, $80, that's how much it is. Let's say it's $100. I have the other one over there, the espresso one. Let's say it's $100. $100 to make your life better. You're already spending money on beans. You're already spending money on gadgets and stuff like that. You're probably reading forums. You're spending times on that. Spending time on YouTube. You're invested. Just invest in this. It works if you already have something like this. The reason why I say this is because the Baratza, the other grinder, it works fine. And if you're not so much of a black coffee drinker, then just get that. It's $200, $250, however much it is. Just push a button and you're done. But it makes the cup a little bit more muddy compared to what this does, to what grinders that evenly grinds the coffee for you, so to where you can really taste what the coffee is at its best, and you can adjust from there. Other thing that I did learn this week of testing and enjoying coffee is, I forgot what I was going to say, is that I think one of the things is just limiting myself of all the stuff that I usually use, meaning that I didn't use my refractometer. I have no clue what the actual bean temperature or color of this coffee is. I can kind of taste it and sense it, kind of get an idea of what I'm dealing with. But I purposely didn't want to use any of that stuff because a lot of times when I use gadgets and stuff like that, is that everything else doesn't matter. My taste buds don't matter. My history, my experience, my things that I have done in the past don't matter. It's what that reading on that gauge and whatever else tells me, and the app tells me that this coffee is. It makes it extremely clinical. It doesn't give the coffee a chance to be colorful. You don't really experience the coffee for its character, for its personality, for what it really is when you're using gear to the point to where it just stays right in your face. So I have to trust myself a lot more. I have to see the things that what the coffee was doing, the preparation that I was doing with the coffee. I had to just be right there with this coffee. As pretentious as it may sound, I have to just be with this coffee and just enjoy it for what it is, and to change and analyze it and just kind of do the things that I needed to with all the other stuff that I usually use. And it was very, very cool. At first it was hard, but then after a while, I just started to really just get into it because I was really just trying to figure out how I can enjoy this coffee the best way that I could. And not only that, what coffee does to me, and then probably what you go through too, is that it teaches you to accept it for what it is. Because you may try so many different things and it may not be speaking to you, but that coffee is speaking to you. It's telling you who it is. And those are some of the things that lessons that I have to like realize or come back to is like, okay, this is the coffee. This is what it's talking to me about. Like when you talk to a person, you're just seeing who they are. You're trying to understand what they're really about. And it gets to the point to where you're like, oh, this is why this person is who they are. This is why they're magical in their own right, in their own ways. And those are some of the biggest takeaways that I picked up on when I was doing this whole challenge, eliminating as many things as I wanted and just going on for a ride. So yeah, this is a coffee, Ethiopian, dry process. Have no clue what the roast degree I did it at. I can say it's a medium dark, but will I really find out? Probably later. But right now, I'm enjoying it for what it is. So what are the challenges that you're going to be doing with your coffee? What kind of things are you going to eliminate? What kind of constraints are you going to bring to the game to the point to where you're just going to go on this magical ride? And if you learn something, you learn something. If you don't, you don't. Let's talk about it. So that's what I got for you right now. It's a little impromptu kind of thing that I'm thinking about. And let me know what you think about this. And we'll talk to you later. Oki at Everyday Beans signing out.